Time out. Time out from my other projects so I can give you an important highlight. When I hang out on Reddit, I often refer people to one little segment of one of my videos in which I explain how to film a standard fisheye shot realistically. So I explain keyframes, I explain framing more exactly, I give you variations on the basic shot to keep your edits fresh and not always filmed the same way. But that's just one part of a bigger video. So that little part is now getting its own highlight. Alright, and that's part 1 of this video right after this intro. And if part 1 is a more technical demonstration for your mind, then part 2 is going to be covering matters of the heart in terms of fisheye filming. Alright, so we're going to do a deep dive into older skate videos as well as some more recent clips. And I'm going to share with you my understanding of the why behind the how of fisheye filming for skateboarding. Alright. There's going to be in-game and real-life examples to support the points. There's going to be some unwritten rules that I've noticed along the years. There's going to be some do's and don'ts that you're going to want to keep in mind. The works, all right? So, no further ado, let's go feed your mind first with a blast from the past, and then we'll discuss matters of the heart. Camera must emulate the action. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's the golden rule. No clickbait around these parts. The first technique that I'll be mentioning a lot in this video, I call it the 5 keyframes. And it is my main approach to doing what I told you about earlier. So the camera emulating the action. Those keyframes are as follows. The starting keyframe, the starting framing, where you see the obstacle that we're about to skate and you see the skater in the frame. The next important keyframe is the end frame at the end, where we see the obstacle we just skated and we see the skater off somewhere in the same frame. Now the 3 frames in the middle are the important ones. You have one at the pop right here, one in the middle of the trick, and one where the skater lands. As soon as they land, or just about, you put in a keyframe there. The main thing about this 5 keyframe combo is what happens in between these 3. So for the pop and the land, the camera is angled relatively low, or the horizon is centered like we have here. So keyframe number 2 and 4, camera angle low or centered. For the middle keyframe, we're angling the camera up high. This conveys the movement that the skater's body is doing through the air, right? Skater goes up, camera pans upwards. Skater goes down, camera goes downwards. That's my main way of emulating action through camera work. The next technique that I'll be referring to a lot is something that I call the whoosh, where the skater starts off their trick to one side of the screen and ends their trick on the other side of the screen. So they whoosh across the screen during their trick. This conveys a little bit more speed and intensity during the trick, alright? This is something you see very, very often in most skate videos and most fisheye shots, alright? The whoosh. The next technique is something that I call a pivot. This is something that I use to put more emphasis on the spot itself rather than just the trick. So notice that we're farther from the skater now, and we're pivoting around a point that's in front of the camera, all right? So this way we see the spot in its entirety, we see the whole trick still. We're still emulating action through camera work, going up and down as the skater's going up and down. And we still have a whoosh in here as well, right to left. But we put more emphasis on the traveling, right? The space, the environment. The next technique is what I call a panning shot for close-ups, right? A close-up panning shot maybe, and it looks a little bit more like this. So as we can see, we're obviously much more close to the actual trick. This is for putting emphasis on the trick itself, all right? So the same thing with the same number of keyframes. We're starting very close. We're still emulating action through camera work. We're going up and down as the skater's going up and down. We're just very close. And we still have a whoosh in here as well. Right to left, all right? It's just now we're very close. a word of caution, be careful not to have your camera angles change too drastically from one keyframe to another, because that's going to make some really erratic camera work if you're not careful with a close-up like this. But the important thing here is it's subtle, but it's there, all right? We're not exaggerating the camera angle changes too much. It's subtle, but it's there. Those are words to live by, all right? In terms of camera angle changes from one keyframe to the next. Hey buddy, I wrote you a beautiful text, so let me read it to you while you watch this pre-recorded gameplay. So I want to offer a broader perspective, a wider view on skate filming as a whole. Now, filming action sports is a niche in its own right, and filming skateboarding specifically is a niche within a niche. But then Session comes in with its replay editor, and now it's a niche within a niche within a niche. And I kind of want to sort through all of that a bit and share my comprehension of all of these layers. And it's an aspect of the skate industry that has always fascinated me. So like I said before, this is my understanding of the why behind the how of skate filming. So, the golden rule of skate filming is the camera must emulate the action, which means that the camera must be doing exactly what the skater is doing as they are doing it. Skater goes up into the air, camera looks up. Skater comes down from the air, camera looks down. This immerses the viewer into the action, conveying to the viewer the feeling of doing the action themselves, alright? Now it's important to note that the camera is not reacting to the skater's actions, because a reaction is a different set of actions as a consequence to the initial skater's action. The golden rule here stipulates that the camera's actions are the skater's actions as they happen. They are one and the same. So in any given trick, there are 3 key moments that always happen that you can and should use as your references for when the camera must do something. Those key moments are the pop, the middle of the trick, so the apex of height, and the landing. Each of these key moments must instantly trigger the camera into doing something to match the action that is happening. One other really important element is screen real estate. This can be translated loosely to the amount of pixels on screen that the board, the skater, and the obstacle occupy while the trick is happening. With a fisheye lens, most of the time, the shot begins with the spot or the obstacle having at least 50% of the screen's total real estate. And then the skater gains space on screen or even overtakes the majority of the screen real estate. This is where we're going to prioritize the board, so the trick as it happens. The skater can be in frame or not, depending on what we're putting emphasis on. And after the trick, the skater gives back the real estate to the obstacle that we just skated. This is kind of the unwritten rule that you see everywhere, almost in every fisheye shot in every video ever. And I say almost because if anyone decides to stray from these rules or to play with these unwritten rules, we can give them the benefit of the doubt and definitely call it artistic liberty, alright? What I'm saying is this is the standard that you will notice whenever you pick up any skate video and take a good look at what the camera's doing. So let's take a moment to make a very important point about the moment in your shot where the trick happens. So when the skater and the trick have all the screen to themselves, alright? This is where the filmer gets to decide. Do I put emphasis on the spot? Do I put emphasis on the board or the trick as it's happening? Do I put emphasis on the skater to have their style, their riz stand out? Is it a combination of any of those 3 elements? 2 out of the 3? All 3 maybe? You decide. You're the filmer. It's your vision. But also, it's your skill at manipulating your equipment that makes you or breaks you as a filmer.
This right here is the most costly item of the whole kit. This is the HVX Extreme Fisheye Lens. Super heavy and worth a fortune.
So there you have it, from the man himself. With great equipment comes great responsibility. Now another point I'd like to make about filming in real life is something you don't have to worry about in session, but it's definitely fun trivia that I like to keep in mind as I'm playing. If you keep having your skater redo their tricks because you're not filming them correctly, well, your skater's gonna slap a big old no bueno on this whole ordeal and he's gonna reach out to another filmer. So it's how you handle this exact moment in filming that really separates the pro filmers who can just do this on demand from the Sunday filmers or filming nerds like myself who still have a lot of time and practice to put in before they can reach an acceptable level. Alright, let's put it that way. Moving on. Now, I've seen in the session subreddits people using the fisheye camera but keeping the camera physically far and zooming in. I'm not the fisheye police, it's a one-player game and you take the artistic liberties you want. But if you want to replicate real-life fisheye filming, you will never touch the zoom or the field of view keyframes, the FOV, when using a fisheye lens in-game. It creates a visual distortion that removes the viewer from the action and completely breaks the purpose of even using a fisheye in the first place. Now, in some very rare cases, I have seen this in real-life skate videos, older videos. So if you look at Adrian Lopez's part in Misled Youth, some of the clips, notice how the background bunches up very much around the edges of the framing and in contrast blows up too much in the middle of the shot. So what this does, if you look at this line for example, this affects the visual representation of speed amongst other things. It makes it look like the skater is actually going slower than in reality. And you have to remember that the point of filming is to represent to the viewer what it feels like to do the tricks and to do the skating. Another example of this is basically almost all of Jim Greco's part in Misled Youth. Now all of this is very subtle, but if you compare it to like Matt Mumford's part in the same video, you clearly don't have that going on the screen, so you can notice the contrast. This might not have been considered a mistake or even noticeable back then, but now with what we're able to see and do, you can see the difference. You can feel it. Okay, so that was a tangent and a half, but hopefully it sheds some better light on the idea of using zoom or changing the field of view when you're using a fisheye. Now let's cut back to the broader topic, so screen real estate, and how you can better influence it with filmer positioning, alright? So where you put your filmer, or more literally the camera, in the space around the spot to film the trick. Now in order for the whole trick to occupy the screen adequately, you've got to be careful not to set yourself up too far from the action. So here's an in-game example of what that would look like, but actually there's no reason why this would happen by accident in-game because you have total control of where to put the camera at any given moment on the timeline. This is more of a real-life thing, so here's an example from ES Menikmati, Tom Penny, frontside flip over a bunch of stairs, filmed from tragically too far with a fisheye. So, you have to be very close to the action when using a fisheye. So close that the filmer is running a real risk of getting hurt by the board flying off if the trick goes wrong. That's what I call the danger zone. If you're using a fisheye and you're not in the danger zone, the clip is just wasted effort. So all of this is what necessarily makes any high quality skateboarding clip a two-man job where both have their roles and the difficulty level is equivalent even though their jobs are different. A properly filmed skate clip in real life is an absolute wonder of teamwork and trust in each other because of all of this. This is why it's super important for skaters to be the filmers for our tricks, because we understand the timing and the key moments of any given trick, even if we're not able to perform every trick ourselves. We can use that intuition to film immersively and properly convey to the viewer the art form that is skateboarding. If you keep all of that in mind while you watch this video, or any of my other videos for that matter, everything I do and say will make perfect sense forever, alright? All right. Oh, that was a sick hard flip. I really hope this was a much better source of information for setting yourself up with some proper fisheye filming for your stationary one-off shots, all right? One trick at a time. I'll never say it enough. The camera must emulate the action, and if you don't have that in your shots, your tricks will be lost on the viewer, all right? It doesn't even matter if it's a skater, all right? The true feeling of doing the trick itself is gonna be lost and it won't be conveyed properly. And the video won't be as entertaining and it won't be showing what we're trying to show. So keep that in mind and find your own way to express it at the very least. Let's get a buttery tray flip lip here. Oh, that was a Smith. That's so much better. That was it. That was it. I'm wishing you patience for your practice and I'll see you in the next one.